Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining this morning. This is the third community coffee we've done. In the last 2 weeks, we've had about 2,000 people each week end up tuning into at least part of it. So I think folks have found them informative and enjoyable. And so we thought a timely topic would be what folks kind of in the nonprofit area, volunteers in the community are seeing with needs currently and what you see coming as we go forward. But before we get too deep into it, to allow folks time to hop in and join us this morning, maybe we can go around, introduce ourselves, and talk a little bit about maybe what we're looking forward to doing this weekend. So it looks like it's going to be a nice one. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Brett, and I'm privileged to serve as the mayor here in the community. And I have lots of landscaping in my future this weekend. So hopefully Monday I'll be moving around real nice and not too sore. That's the goal. So maybe we'll go to Henry.
Yeah, not too far off of what you said. Doing a lot of mowing, just kind of enjoying the outdoors and soaking up some sunshine, hopefully. Doing a little tree trimming and just enjoying the outdoors.
How about Vicky?
Well, Ray and I are going to put some dirt in our raised garden. And after that, I don't know, I'll just dink around the house.
Elizabeth. One sec.
Enjoying the sunshine and the weather. So looking forward to that.
What you said, doing a lot of mowing. Just kind of.
Okay. Barb?
I was just informed that we're going to go get sand for a sandbox when we get done here this morning.
Ooh.
I need 5.5 cubic feet, according to Bob's calculations.
There you go. I don't know what he knows about calculations, but.
Bob's calculations.
And Gil.
Yeah, I'm not as active as most of you, and I mowed and not much else really planned.
Very good. So for those of you joining, if you have some questions for us this morning or about what these groups are doing or seeing, you want to know more, definitely type in the chat box here so we can answer your questions. I'm sure folks would love to answer those. So basically why I asked these folks to come on is we've had some efforts in the community around fundraising and things for the pandemic, and I've heard a lot of people say, how can I help? And then people then on the flip side say, where does this money go to? So I think we kind of want to answer those two questions this morning. And I've seen some statistics from some of the organizations like Cubby's Cupboard, and I think it's pretty mind-blowing in a way, kind of what we're seeing there. It's kind of like what I've said with Cubby's Cupboard all along. It's kind of a very bittersweet because it shows that there's a need being filled and there's folks willing to step up and fill it. And it's also kind of sad too, because there's a need to fill. And I think right now there are people in the community I know that are being affected. And I think it's great to see all of you and your organizations and then the others that aren't on this morning with us and what you're able to do. So maybe if we want to start and just talk a little bit about what your group even does in general, I think that might help folks. So maybe we'll start with Vicky and talk about kind of what Good Samaritan Fund does and what your goals are and historically what you do, and then we'll get into kind of how things have changed.
Okay, well, Good Samaritan started with Father James Supple about 40 years ago. And the way we get our monies, our funding, is through the churches in Nevada and private donations, okay? And the churches, since there is no services, that link has really dried up. They usually do like a Sunday, one offertory Sunday, and then they donate that. But there's no service, so there's no offertory. So that has dried up. But we have a lot of private people, that donate monthly through St. Pat's. And then other private people just mail in a check for Good Sam and stuff. And then we try to get the grants from any organization that we can, but sometimes it doesn't work out. And we did receive some monies from Nevada this year, excuse me. And that was allocated for just Nevada citizens, so we can take, here's Joe and he lives in Nevada, so that monies will be taken out of that little pot, okay? And then you have Sam who lives in Colo. Well, that money comes from the donations and the bulk of, the private people and stuff like that. What we're seeing now, we're not taking appointments like we have. We're doing on dire need basis only, and when children are involved, that really pulls at our heartstrings. But we do it over the phone because of the virus stuff. And we've only done, maybe with this all starting, I want to tell you about 10 dire things that had to be taken care of, for protection of a family. A bad situation could be arising and they need to get away from that. Things like that still happen. And with the increased stress and stuff like that, people are getting scared about the bills that are going to be coming. So we have to listen to that too. We know that these bills are going to be high, but we only have a limited source of funding. So when that runs out, it's gone. I can't make money grow on trees. I wish I could. But we might have to drop right now we're doing about $200 per case, $200 per case, okay? But I foresee the need when this all lifts, it's just gonna be a stampede. It's just gonna be horrible because their bills are due, they don't know where to turn. All the agencies that, they can go to are gonna be wiped out. I mean, there's so many people. And Good Samaritan serves from Ziering, McCallsburg, Roland, Collins, Colo, McCallsburg, Maxwell, Cambridge, and Nevada, all these little towns that don't have the resources like Ames does. So does that help anyone with the information that I could give? We also do $15 gas cards, and that's to help the people get to work or go get food, right now. And I foresee people wanting or needing those gas cards to get back to work. So there's a lot of things that are needed right now.
Very good. So it sounds like a lot of things is filling in gaps with, is it rent and utility type payments and gas cards and stuff like that?
Yeah, rent and utility is what we do. Yep.
Very good. So maybe we can go down to Gil and you can talk a little bit about the community cupboard and what you do there.
Okay, we're community cupboard is supply food for people that need it to get through the month. We don't try to take care of their needs for the entire month, but we just as a supplement to their normal food items.
Mhm.
We're designed to come once a month. It depends on what, geez, it's catching.
Sorry.
We have right now we're fully stocked up. We've got a lot of meat. We've got eggs, and basically our numbers have dropped some from all this when this has started. And so I'm just kind of wondering if that's just because the elderly are staying home or some other reason. But we're there where we do on good days like today, we'll have the free stuff items sitting outside.
Mhm.
So they can look through those. So they can come inside and get their sacks of groceries. And family size dictates how many sacks they get. But they pick up the eggs, the groceries, and meat. And we do give them a $7 card for food. Take care of the meat or the milk, eggs, that sort of thing when things we don't have. But we're trying to limit the number of people in 2 at a time. We're wearing masks and gloves.
Mhm.
And so they're only in the building hopefully about 2 minutes to get those items, and then they're on their way.
Very
And
good.
so that's what we've done to try to help handle the spread, doing what we can to handle the spread of the disease.
Very good. And so I don't forget, Gail, I know you said you might have to head out. So whenever you need to go this morning, just feel free to give us a wave and head off. So,
All right.
Hey,
Um,
Brett,
yeah.
excuse me. Gil, do you have a need for people to take groceries to the shut-ins?
We're getting, I've started a list right now. It's not very long.
Okay,
And so there's some of the items, some of the people that have requested things like that have gone to Elizabeth at Covey.
oh, okay.
And
Well,
so
people have asked.
He's provided me some names of people that are down at the Meadows.
Mhm, mhm.
I said, well, Meadows people, we might as well take care of. We have other people that are there,
Yeah,
that, normally are still getting out and coming for them. So we'll get it worked out. I've got, I've got 3 or 4 people on my list now that volunteered to deliver. And,
oh, okay,
uh,
okay.
Somebody said, I forget who I was talking to now, said about the nights.
Oh, yeah, yeah, uh-huh,
Might
uh-huh.
want to do that as a project too, to help
Mhm.
out. So,
Mhm. Okay, that was just a question I had.
yeah,
Thank you.
we'll address that as we can. And so far we found enough
Yeah.
people to handle them, but we don't have our list isn't very long yet either. So,
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Okay. How about if we go to Barb?
Good morning. Today, my role is as the community meal coordinator for Nevada Food at First. And we exist to just feed folks that are hungry. There's no questions asked. And we know that you got to have food before you can kind of do anything else. Typically, we sit down at tables and enjoy each other's company while we eat. But that hasn't been possible. And since March 19th, we've been doing all carryouts. What's exciting, I think, for us is that the number of volunteers that we have year round to help us make the meals and to prepare them. They're home cooked meals. They're perfectly free. And the folks at the United Methodist Church here in Nevada host us, and there's businesses and agencies and service clubs and individuals and households. It's just amazing. Youth groups that come and help. Last year we had more than 260 volunteers. And so the outpouring in response to this COVID crisis has really been encouraging, because we're going to try to do some things a little different to make sure that we can reach folks.
Very good. Elizabeth.
Good morning. I'm Elizabeth Gint, and I'm here representing Cubby's Covered today. And we operate much like Gil in that we are here to provide food to anyone in need. Initially, Cubby's Covered started as a collaboration between the school, the Cornerstone group, and the Food Bank of Iowa. And we were primarily focused on servicing students and families in the district because our cupboard is within the walls of the school. But since the COVID-19, we have expanded our services to anyone in need. And we've altered our delivery a little bit. We pre-package all the food, and then people just drive by and pick it up curbside, which has seemed to work out very good. Over the past few weeks, we've seen a stark increase in the number of people visiting and kind of reaching out for needs. And at this time, I think we have a 75% increase in the usage of the pantry. We've been able to keep up with the need for food through community donations, the food bank, and doing some supplemental ordering and things like that. Our volunteer stream has stayed pretty steady, and when we reach out to anyone, they're very willing to send a group or kind of rally the troops so we can get trucks unloaded or boxes packed or things like that. And as Gil said, we've been collaborating a bit between the two of our programs, because Gil does have the ability to have some delivery going out and some things like that. And so we're very appreciative of that, and just the open lines of communication to make sure that we can get food to anyone that needs it.
Very good. And I know you guys have all spoken about volunteers, and I know Main Street's been helping helping with that. I'm not sure. I know that we've saw a great outpouring of folks signing up, I believe. And so if you, and I'll just say before we let Henry talk a little bit more, if you did sign up and you haven't heard yet, definitely that's probably a good thing, because it means we haven't quite seen the huge need there that we are trying to prepare for. So we're trying to get ahead of the curve. So I did see folks say, hey, I reached out, when am I going to hear what you need me for? And I think it's awesome that folks have told us they're willing to help for when there are needs. So maybe Henry can talk a little bit about what Main Street's seeing as far as volunteers, but also I know you guys are kind of being a clearinghouse of information, trying to connect folks that need things with other groups that have the capability. So we'll hand it over to Henry.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, I came on 2 weeks ago with Community Coffee, and that week alone we had 50 new volunteers sign up pretty much in the coffee span. And so we've been trying to get that list as updated as we can and sending it out to those who can use it. We've had great volunteers. People have just, they've sent it in, and like Brett said, we get emails saying, I haven't been contacted yet. Should I expect? And, it's a good sign we're taking it that we haven't had to use that full body yet of volunteers, but we appreciate the outpour so much. And continuing to have those volunteers, and be able to have that resource is something so valuable. But we've also been helping direct questions, kind of field phone calls, and helping direct them to the parties that can help these individuals the most. We've had individuals call in for groceries, individuals from out of state who have bought groceries for family friends that live here and just need someone to go pick it up and take it to their house. And we've helped connect a few of those, and we have some wonderful volunteers who have just wholeheartedly offered to do that any time of the day, and that's been very helpful. But we've had great questions come into us, and we've done our best to direct those to the individuals who can give the best answers through these organizations and several others throughout the community.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that folks watch this later after it posts and it's not live anymore, and they have questions they haven't asked or want to know more. Main Street's probably a good place to start.
Yep, absolutely. We'll try to help you answer your question, and if we don't have an answer, we'll put you in touch with someone that will.
Very good. And a reminder for anyone watching, if any of this sparks your interest and you do have questions you want to know more, definitely put it in the chat box there and we will try to get to it. So I know have all kind of mentioned kind of maybe some of the changes you're seeing, but if you want to go into more depth of how this time in particular has changed your operations, what and I know Gil mentioned kind of what their needs have done, but maybe what you're seeing now and then what you think might be coming later. So maybe we'll go down to Cubbies and have Elizabeth start down there.
Yes, I think that we've seen some changes over the last few weeks for sure, just in the sheer number of people reaching out and asking for food or resources. And thankfully, we have a good group of community people who were able to direct those families right to and help them get answers, and helping them understand that this is probably a longer term situation, and we're going to try the best we can to get resources to people. I guess forecasting out, I see at least Cubbies Covered numbers staying steady, if not increasing. Families are starting to settle into the fact that the income levels are not going up and they're not accessible right now. And one of the areas that we're going to start to try to focus on a little bit more are like hygiene items and some of the basic household items with some of the funding that we've got, just to help people maintain those levels. And I wouldn't say they're necessary levels of comfort, but mostly necessities, just to help provide those. So that's one area that we're going to engage in and try and look for some resources to access those things.
I think that's a good point, because I know we have good support from the food bank for both your organization and for the Cupboard with Gil and with Barb at Food at First. But one of the areas that doesn't really cover are those household goods, the hygiene items, the toiletries, those types of things, which are just as important as the food. So that's really where, folks are wondering fundraising, just putting my my forward-thinking hat on there as far as what might be coming would be, you know, needing those types of items to supplement what the pantries are doing. We have the infrastructure to get items out, but supplementing beyond just the core food staples. And I know with Cubbies in the past, you get a lot of the core basic food needs, but when you're serving a lot of kids are picky, and some of those cans of beans and things like that, you know, for some families, it's nice to have other more fun things to supplement it that the kids are more interested in too. So I think that's a good point as far as what might be needed outside the food bank staples. So, and Barb, anything else you want to share from Food at First perspective on how things are changed now and what you see coming at us?
Well, last year in 2019, we were averaging about 33 meals a night. And some of those were carryouts at that point, but the majority of folks just came and sat with us. Already just in these first few months of 2020, we're up to 42 meals at night. So, and most of that increase has come significantly since March 19th. Rather than 33 to 40 kind of meals per night, we've seen 77. We've sent 77 meals out one night. The lowest we've seen is in the mid 40s. And so from March 2019 to March 2020, with only 4 nights being post COVID-19, we served 200 more meals than we did a year ago. So we were up over 400. And already in April, with 2 nights to go, we're already at 422 meals. With 2 nights to go. So we're doing those meals are ordered on by picking up the phone and calling. It's the United Methodist Church's number. They are totally awesome hosts and give us a lot of in-kind support. One of the things they're doing right now is making a staff member available to answer the phone. I'm going to be able to do that in the future. But right now, we just couldn't get stuff moved fast enough to do that. So then meals are picked up curbside from 5:30 to 6. We have a couple hosts at the front door. We too have giveaways that when it's nice out, we're able to be outside. But if it's inclement at all, there's space between the outside door and the inside door, 6 feet actually, so that folks can pop in and get bread and other things that we have to offer. Coming soon, electronic order forms. Everybody's got a phone. Not everybody is accustomed to using the phone to call to order. They're more accustomed to doing that with an app or online. So we're working on a Google form so that folks can do that really simply. We don't ask questions that we don't need. So it's kind of like going to Panera. You could, send give us your name, the number of meals you need, and a phone number in case something happens and we miss you here at the door, or we want to make sure you get the meals, and we've got some folks to do that. We're also getting ready to launch some neighborhood meal pickup stops. Not everybody has can be there between 5:30 and 6. And some folks don't have vehicles. And when the weather's inclement, a lot of people are walking right now. They're not able to come. So we're going to try to get some stops out on the different parts of the community, South 11th, north of the tracks, in the 10th Street area, where we know there's lots of kids and households and elders as well. We'll try to get something south of 30 off of S14 pretty soon too. And so that will happen like at 6 o'clock. Instead of coming all the way into town to the church with all the construction and everything, then you can just go find your neighborhood stop and pick up your meals there. That's when we're going to need all those volunteers that Henry sent me.
Yeah, so the needs are coming. So yeah, if you've signed up again, don't be discouraged if you haven't heard yet, because there will be needs. We'll need you. So
well, and last night, Brett, on public TV, the president manager, I don't know what her title is, of Food Bank of Iowa, she said that we're supposed to expect through calendar year 2020 the needs to continue to increase. And as people hear about what we do, somebody might have an idea for efficiency or an idea to be more collaborative. We got to be in this for the long haul, folks. And so any kind of new idea that somebody's got, based on a business model or something. I'm anything but business. I'm about relationships, but right now I got to be business.
And I think that's a good point too, just the need that they're expecting from the state level. I mean, they put the lieutenant governor himself on coordinating with food banks and making sure they're ready. And so I think we're blessed in our community to have some strong organizations filling that need already, that are in a good place to do that. So one thing Barb hit on that was interesting, and I might have missed Elizabeth talking about it, but did you talk about the numbers that Cubby's seen, kind of the trends there? Because I think Barb sharing kind of what they're seeing is helps folks understand kind of what's under the surface they might not be seeing.
No, I didn't mention any numbers, but so in April, we've already seen probably 750 people come through the pantry, whereas last month in total, there were around 200 people coming in. And so each week it's definitely increasing, and the need is just definitely there.
Mm-hmm. And I think that was one thing I talked to all of you probably a week and a half ago to get an article ready for the Nevada Journal. And I know at the time you all had said, in the last couple of weeks in March, we saw a big increase. We expect April to be a lot higher. I think hearing from Barb and Elizabeth, that was correct with what you're seeing too. Because I think at that time we hadn't seen a full month yet affected, which we almost have now. So, and Gil, I know you hit on a little bit, maybe kind of the folks you're seeing numbers down a little bit for various reasons, but is there anything you want to share about what you either see coming or what you expect to see as we move into the next phase?
Well, I think the numbers should be coming, but I think with Cubby's taking some of the pressure off, I think that's affected our numbers somewhat. They're familiar with the school, their kids go to school, and so that's an easy place to say, hey, they got it covered, and they go there. But like I say, we're fully stocked. We're ready. Our numbers of people coming down probably has been 20% less, and our contributions are up for this time of year. So we're sitting in pretty good shape.
Yep. And so I think that's one message for anybody watching. I think we all probably know of some folks that might be going through some hard times right now. And I think making sure they know that there are folks in the community that can help them, and not to be afraid to ask for help. I think that's the other thing too. I know there are some folks that might be afraid to ask, and definitely I would encourage them not to be afraid. These groups are here. They want to help. That's what they're here for. We know people are hurting. We know it's an unusual time, and we want to make sure that we all come out stronger together on the other side. So maybe Vicki, if you want to talk a little bit about, and you hit a little bit on kind of the changes in your fundraising patterns and stuff that you see, but do you want to talk a little bit about anything else you didn't say that you see coming, other than, I know you said you kind of see a big swell of need coming down at us, but
I need to go. So
thanks, Gail. We appreciate having you this morning.
Like I said earlier, I think with the job losses and things like that, people cannot afford to pay their rent right now. They cannot afford to pay the utility bill. But I strongly suggest that they send something, to those entities. And then when the floodgates open, and, Good Samaritan always needs funding. We will do the best we can with what we have and serve as many people as we can. That I envision the numbers. Last year, I think we served like 130 families, throughout our region. I'm expecting a lot more, for this year because of this terrible pandemic.
And we did get a question come in online. So again, if you do have questions, you want to know things, definitely put them in the box. So this one would probably be a good one for Elizabeth. If someone has personal hygiene donations that they would like to provide, how would you recommend they go about that?
People can reach out to me individually, or I'm actually at the lunch giveaway every Monday and Thursday at the high school. And people swing through there and are able to drop things off if kind of saves them having to get out of the car, and they can just do an easy handoff.
Very good. And I think definitely, I think that sounds like an option there. And otherwise, can they leave a message at the middle school now, or what's this status there if they can't make those times? Or they can probably message the Cubby's Cupboard page on Facebook if they find that. I know that's a good way to reach Elizabeth.
Yep, that would be great. Yeah, I would say messaging that page would be best, because the middle school just has some inconsistent phone times, but or they can call my regular school phone, which goes to my email, which is 382-3521 extension 394, and I will return all the calls.
Very good. And I think that kind of takes me to the next point, and that's, you know, the fundraising effort. Because what we saw at the beginning, we got a group together of community volunteers, and many of you were part of that. And we said, you know, we know there are going to be some big needs. We don't know exactly where they're going to be, and we want to be able to be nimble when they show up. So the Nevada Foundation, which was preparing to do a capital campaign for the Nevada Fieldhouse, was already had some infrastructure in place to kind of be a vehicle for funds that different community groups could tap. So they led the charge to open a fund. So if folks are interested, you can go to State Bank directly, which is now with the construction, I believe, walk up in their drive-through. So you can donate directly at State Bank in person, or there's a PayPal link, which I can go ahead. I'll make a note to myself to put the PayPal link in this chat for that. So those funds that are raised are in a fund sitting there for community groups to tap when they run out of their normal funding sources. So whether that be, you know, Vicki sees a huge run when rents come due in May, and, you know, she's going, do I cut the amount, or is there more funding? So that's where Good Samaritan Fund can ask. Elizabeth might be, hey, you know, we're running low on our funds we have, and we need some more toilet paper, something like that. And so there will be needs. We know they're going to come up quickly, and we want to be able to respond quickly. So folks were saying, well, we didn't know where to give money because we don't know who's going to need it when. And so that's why the foundation kind of stepped in, so that folks can tap it when they need it. And it's been super encouraging. To be honest, there's been fairly minimal advertising or anything around the fund itself. And I know the fund has already raised over $10,000 from the community, which is absolutely incredible. And I know it sounds like a lot, but I know, especially looking over at Vicki, I know as soon as rents and utilities come due, that money can go pretty fast. So I would encourage folks definitely to continue, if you're able to give, to think about that fund. There was a virtual 5K to raise money for that, and we had a huge turnout and response from that. So you'll probably see folks running around on the trails getting their times in for their virtual 5K. But that itself raised quite a bit of money, and Burke and Almaco and some of our employers like that supported that effort. So it's been good to see folks come together. Just from another perspective too, coming together just in moral support and seeing, you know, the signs going up around town supporting our high school seniors, and folks asking how can we support them. And so it's pretty incredible to watch the community come together in that regard. But so yeah, I talked about the foundation and how you can help there financially. And the other aspect too, when we got together, was going, you know, with COVID, not knowing where that was going to go, you know, we wanted to talk about what, as far as you want to be careful with physical items and passing physical items around and bringing physical items into buildings. So at one point folks said, hey, can we do another Fill the Foyer? And that's where we said, well, instead of Fill the Foyer, we're inviting a whole bunch of people to come into City Hall right now, not knowing more about the virus. Why don't we do a virtual fundraising campaign and encourage folks to go to PayPal? And so that's another reason why we tried to make it more of a financial drive versus an item drive, because in a normal time we'd say, bring us all your items, you know, bring us your food. But if it were a normal economic downturn or something like that, that's what we would do. But in this case, we've definitely pushed online. So with that, I know we've talked quite a bit about kind of where we are and where we think we're going, but maybe we'll go around one more time and see if folks have things that either you have to add from your organization, maybe something you're wondering about, something somebody else talked about. So maybe we'll
Brett?
Yeah, go ahead, Vicki.
I'm just gonna put my plea for funding out there. If someone wants to privately donate, they can send it to the Good Samaritan Fund, 1110 11th Street here in Nevada. Or they can, if they have more questions, they can call me at the office, and I'm there Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And the phone number is 382-2974. I'll do the best I can with, like I said, with what we have, we'll do the best we can to serve our folks. Okay,
Very good.
thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else online have questions before we move on? We'll go kind of one last call here for discussion type topics.
I just wanted to kind of put in my 2 cents. Because I'm just so grateful for all the donations through the Nevada Foundation and people who have directly supported Food at First. And I'm just going to say thanks to volunteers again. Hang on, we're coming to get you. I promise. I'm really looking forward to contacting folks and letting people know more about what's going on. In spite of everything, our biggest expense has to do with consumables. It's the food stuff is really important, and we're getting some in-kind food support, but it's the takeout containers and the food bags to make sure that the meal appears both safe and appealing, so that the angel food cake doesn't get mushed in with the walking taco, those kinds of things. Food service gloves. If somebody's making a trip to Sam's Club and they're willing to donate in kind, that way, if you could call the church office, the First United Methodist Church office, which is 382-6536, let folks know that you're headed that way anyway, because some of those items are kind of in short supply, and the more frequently somebody can take a look at the shelves, the easier it's going to be to keep up. I said something to Brad, and he put it in the newspaper as well. We have always used local producers in order to have the high quality meat that we use with our meals. And right now we're kind of that whole ag market is kind of falling apart at the seams, and we weren't intending to purchase another beef and process that until until fall. But we need some of that sooner. We need some of those relationships. If you know someone that has, kind of more of even a gentleman's farm, so to speak, that, that they've got 5 pigs and they don't need all 5 for them, for themselves. I'd sure like to talk to folks. And without school, the school garden, Noah's Garden, some of the places that we get produce all season may not be available to us because we can't get folks together to put them in the ground. So I'll be working and appealing to FFA as they're able to do some work later on in the season. But if there's other folks that have extra produce or they do that for a living and are willing to, tithe a little bit of that to Food at First, I sure appreciate that. And again, if you've got any particular skills or ideas, don't hesitate to touch base with us. Help folks get connected. There's new folks that have not experienced hunger before, or just that threat of hunger before. Like our Facebook, help folks get connected. There's no questions asked. There's no shame. We've got the food. Let us get it to the people who need it.
And Barb, a question came in that is good for you. Is there a list of donation or items needed for Food at First? You talked about those consumables. Do you have a list out there, the types of things you're looking for?
I don't have it out there yet, but it's the takeout containers that have 3 sections, main dish and a couple sides. Food bags, like, zipper bags, sandwich bags, those kinds of things. Paper towels. Yeah, we go through a roll of paper towel just with the cleanliness and the things in the kitchen. We do that normally because we're Serve Safe certified. Food service gloves, garbage bags. Those are the main things we need.
Very good. And then maybe after, if you think about it, you can always go to the video too and type it in there so folks that watch later can see too. So
after some coaching from somebody.
There you go. Or you can send it to me and I'll put it in there. How's that?
Please put that in there. I don't know how to do that.
Okay. Elizabeth, anything you want to add?
I would like to already extend thank yous to all the community members and organizations that have donated to Cubby's Cupboard to help things stay afloat and help us stay strong during these last few weeks. Without all the hands and the volunteers, the food would not be able to get into the homes like it is. We've had a lot of support from the school, just with the facilities and storage and things like that. I think, as I said before, our continued focus will of course be on the food, and as echoing what Barb said, just trying to reach the people that are maybe having food insecurity. And, I've been working with Gil to do some deliveries to folks who are food insecure and lack transportation, or maybe just have a compromised immunity system and don't feel comfortable or even safe going out at this time. So kind of spreading that word. And as well, we'll start to venture into the more hygiene, household type cleanliness things. And I would be happy to hear from anyone who knows where you can purchase things in a little more of a bulk rate, because I know that things are on it's very limited at this time for good reason, but accessing multiples of things, that would be good information for us to have.
Yeah, and Elizabeth hit on something too. I want to encourage the community to check on their neighbors, check on people that they know of, because there are probably people right under our noses that aren't accessing food because it's hard for them to get out, or they're afraid to get out. That's the other piece of this too. I think there are folks that might have some a risk of whatever reason that are afraid to go out, and for those reasons, they might not be accessing these organizations, our community, and we have ways to get them the food. We have ways to get them the supplies from our organizations in town if we know about them. So definitely check on folks from that regard too. So. Oh, and see, Evie's awesome. Evie already typed in Barb's list in the chat box. So there you go.
Good deal.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Abby.
Abby.
Okay, Henry.
Yeah. So as Barb and Brett both said, this is going to be a long haul effort. And, for everyone that has volunteered already, thank you so much. And, I think we're going to take, give you a call for sure. And for those who haven't volunteered and would like to, we'll be sending out the survey sign up on our Facebook page, Main Street Nevada. And you can sign up there, or you can give us a call at the office, which is 515-382-6538, and we'll put you into contact with one of these organizations doing amazing work. So volunteers, we still need you, and we look forward to working with you.
Yeah, so that's another thing too. Maybe each of our groups, we can have folks put contact info in that chat box too, on the city page under this video, and then that way anyone later might then, if they're wondering, they can go look there. And then the other thing I want to emphasize too, if you're part of another group in town that we don't have on this call, and you have some needs too, definitely reach out to us so that we know you're there. We want to make sure Henry knows you're there. We want to make sure the foundation knows you're there in case you have financial need. So just because a group's not on this call doesn't mean there's not other things going on that we haven't talked about this morning. So I know there's more. And then the other piece too is if folks see other needs, I think we want to know that too. So if there's a need not being met, the folks in this group want to know, because we have an incredible group throughout the community that I'm sure we would be able to find a way to fill it. So, yeah. So before we sign off, anybody have anything else they want to share?
Just a quick reminder that the school lunches are still continuing on, and the signups go out weekly with pickups on Monday and Thursday. And the times changed slightly. Their pickup is from 11 until 12:15 each day in the high school Circle Drive.
Very good. And do they intend to continue that through the rest of the semester?
Yes, the rest of the semester. And I think that there's just continued talks going on with, I think there's still some uncertainty about all the summer programming, but that information will come out as soon as it can.
Very good.
And that's also for even littles who eat. You don't have to be in school to be able to access that food. So
Yeah, that's a good point. So do they have to have children in the home to access that food?
they do. Yeah, it's for students 18 and under, but really it's anyone age 18 and under.
That helps. And that's for the school pickup meals. But for community cupboard and also for Cubbies, that would be more open to the community.
Correct, for both. Those are both open to anyone.
Okay, good. I want to make sure make sure folks were clear on that. So
Yeah,
on,
those are two different
the food.
programs.
Yep, very good. And I know Barb with Food at First, that's open to anyone.
You
anyone
bet.
and everyone. So, and then same thing with Vicky and Good Samaritan. She already
Yeah,
talked about the geographic diversity around the community that this serves as a hub for.
Yep, that's true. Yeah. I also forgot to mention, I'm sorry, sometimes we help with medication. Okay, it just depends on the cost of the medication. And we only deal with New Cara and Parkview here in town. Okay, because they know us. Walmart Names doesn't know us. So that's what we do. Okay.
Yeah, and that's a topic we haven't even touched on today. I'm with my pharmacist hat on. I'm sure that's going to be something we're going to be
Oh,
probably
yeah.
as it comes forward. Just like Vicky said with rent and utilities, we may not see it as much right now because we're kind of in the early stages, but those types of things are coming where folks are going to struggle with some of those core needs. So that's another. I haven't even thought about that with any of the foundation discussions we've done about where some of the money can be used, but yeah, medications probably is part of that as well. So,
Thank you.
yeah, lots of things to think about. I'm super thankful for our community. I mean, right away, the very first week, we had groups gathered together, willing to give their time to talk about how we were going to move forward together and make sure we were working in the same direction. So it's really encouraging to see what everybody's doing and all those good things. So, okay, well, with that, thank you for your time this morning, everyone. I know it's a beautiful day and you want to probably have other things you need to get to. And thanks for everybody watching. Again, if you think of things later, we'll put some contact info in there so you can ask. But Henry already put in the plug. Main Street's a good place to start if you don't know where to go. So they're kind of like the welcoming club of the community and kind of an information central that's a good place to go. So we encourage you to do that.
And also stay tuned on our Facebook page. We're going to have some really fun programs, partnerships with organizations and groups in town rolling out this coming week and then the next week. And they're just going to be some fun programs to bring us together as a community. So look forward to that.
Yeah, and one thing, I guess, before we sign off here, I'll put in a plug. So if you're watching and you have questions about topics for the city that aren't anything related to what we've talked about with food or rent, you have city council person sitting here able to answer questions and myself able to answer questions. So we're definitely open to other questions and can broaden the topic this morning. And then before we do that, maybe we can talk a little bit about the construction, because I know that's one big thing going on downtown. I think if you haven't been there, I've taken some photos and it just blows your mind kind of what's going on downtown right now when you actually see the scope of work. But they dig way deep in the ground to pull out some of that storm sewer and stuff. Some of that infrastructure has been there for centuries, literally. So it's definitely needed to replace. But for folks that aren't aware of some of the changes there, we've adjusted the staging because we originally had planned on to do 6th Street between I and K. And then when they got done with tearing up the pavement there, the next place they were going to tear up was going to be the alleys behind there in order to minimize the amount of 6th Street impacted at any one time. But right now, obviously, our businesses are impacted from other directions. And so what we're trying to do is get as much of the 6th Street business storefront disruption done right now, well, they're closed anyway, before, so that what we didn't want to do is have folks open back up, the community get back to a sense of normalcy, and then next spring tear everything back up at that other block. So rather than go to the alleys, the contractors next Thursday are going to continue down 6th Street between K and Lincoln, and start that portion there. So the one thing I want to emphasize is the sidewalks are staying in place while the streets tore out. So just because you see the street tore out, you can just park around the corner. The storefronts are all still open, so you can still access all those businesses. So even if the governor comes out Monday and says, hey, you know, I'll just throw it out, I have no idea what she's going to do, but maybe it's restaurants can open in some other limited capacity, you'll still be able to access those. So they won't be cut off. So that's one thing to be clear on. And then so basically what they're going to do is tear out the street, redo all the infrastructure under the street, the storm sewer, the sewer, the water mains, all that happens. They get into the buildings by boring under the sidewalks. We're not going to affect any of the ground under the sidewalks for a couple reasons. One is those buildings are really old, and the last thing we want to do is tear out dirt that's too close to those foundations. So we don't want to go anywhere near the foundation. So they're going to bore under the current sidewalks that are there into those buildings. Once all that's done and they re-pour the street, then they'll take out the current sidewalk and put new sidewalk down. So that window where there won't be sidewalk is pretty small. And in the meantime, they'll have ways like bridging and stuff with wooden planks and stuff to get people across the dirt area into those buildings. So I want to make sure folks know that it's really important that we keep those Main Street storefronts access. So even if stuff does start coming back to normal in May and June and we're not quite done yet, that'll still be a priority. So the goal is to have all the way up to Lincoln Way done by the end of July, so that halfway through the summer, everybody can be done with the fund construction. So I know, Henry, maybe you can talk a little bit about what you're seeing from the business perspective and what they're seeing downtown.
Yeah. So one of the interesting things, and it's a little bit with that watching equipment and stuff, is we have foot traffic up and down Main Street, almost a little heavier in the evenings than what usually you see. And it's people coming down to see all that construction and kind of watch it. You know, in front of gatherings, there's a church pew and some benches, and people are sitting there watching the construction. But it's been amazing to see, I guess, how the businesses and restaurants downtown have adapted. You know, when leaving the office in the evening, there's a line all the way up to Mi Casita's takeout window, all the way down from the street. And, you know, people are adapting and starting to kind of work with the process more and more. And we're looking as restaurants and businesses start to reopen in our district, working with them to kind of ease into that startup again with construction going on, working with them and the city. And we've developed a few plans, and we're going to be developing more as it goes forward.
Very good. So other than what you're dealing with construction, is there anything else you're seeing in the Main Street district that you want to talk about?
Yeah. You know, it's been interesting to kind of see, I guess, opinions and thoughts on the project, you know, now that it's happening, seeing what it looks like. It's been amazing talking with business owners and residents. You know, until you see the project occurring, you kind of don't know what it's going to look like and understand, I guess, the scale of it. And it's been interesting to hear the comments coming in saying, oh, well, that wasn't what I was picturing. You know, I pictured kind of the Grand Canyon down 6th Street, and, you know, and it's the attitude is pretty positive, and it's been very, I guess it's been entertaining to hear kind of the thoughts and the views on it, and kind of seeing what was beneath the surface, all those lines and the water lines, and kind of getting an understanding of what was there and why we're replacing it. And for business owners, that has been eye-opening, and in some cases it's been surprising, but just kind of that perception has been interesting to be a part of, and working with the building owners and business owners.
And if you want to see more on the city page, if you scroll down, we've done a couple live video shots with Sean Cole talking about what's going on, where we're showing the work they're doing as he's explaining it. And I've learned more about construction, I think, just from that than I thought I would need to know. So it's been pretty neat to watch how they do that with their laser beams on these poles, and they take these measurements, and just how they know where to put things. And it's been pretty neat to watch that, and to be able to, you know, venture out there in areas I normally obviously wouldn't go out there next to where they're working to take some video, but being able to do that just so the community can see it and just see the scope of it's been very neat.
And Sean Cole and myself, we're going to do a video early next week, put it together, kind of explaining, I guess, on that first stage of the project, what paving is going to look like, kind of how that process is going to come about, just because it's interesting to see how you kind of button up the street again after it's all over. And so stay tuned for that video. We're both excited to put that one together.
Yeah, that'll be really neat. And I think it's been just how quickly it seems to be moving, I think is encouraging. Knock on wood, Mother Nature hasn't been too harmful yet this construction season. I probably shouldn't say that out loud, so sorry everybody. But no, just it's moving along. And then under the ground, I was afraid of surprises. So I mean, we have more to go. There could be more surprises, but luckily that's been smooth so far as well. So I know they're working really hard to keep that moving. And the first block, I know they're getting towards the end of, I think, putting some of the services connecting to those buildings. So at that point, they'll be putting the street back together, like Henry said. And so that'll be neat to see that block come together, how that's going to look, and then they'll keep moving along. So like I said, the phasing you saw presented, the phasing that was presented on the website is changing because of this. And so we can get as much done as we can. And that was one thing, you know, we wanted to talk to some of the business owners and get some opinions and make sure our initial thought was right, that they'd prefer we keep plugging along. And so it was pretty resounding. Yeah, let's get this done so that this is done. COVID can be done and then we can go back to normal. So that's the goal for those 6th Street storefronts. So then we'll move around to the alleys and the side streets and all those things over the next year plus to get those done. But yeah. Anything upcoming fun from Main Street, Henry?
Yeah, so we've got a couple fun projects in the works right now. It's been a wonderful experience being able to meet with other Main Street directors around the state. We've been broken up into kind of small groups weekly to meet. And just the ideas coming out of these communities is amazing and fun. And you know, it shows how resilient, I guess, we are as small town Midwestern, you know, towns. But we've got a couple fun projects in the work, and we'll be having more announcements. But we're looking at potentially a similar, I guess, journey around Nevada. It'd be 20 locations throughout the town, and we're working with owners and organizations to put that together. So more will be coming out on that here in the coming week. But then we're also working with the library to do a program there too. We're still kind of in the planning phases of it all, and we'll be having a whole lot come out next week. Next week's going to be fun, energetic. It's going to be quite the time. So stay tuned in the first part of the week for us on our Facebook page, and we'll be announcing all these programs in depth, just talking more about them. We're a fun community, and we realize that, you know, people are getting cabin fever and they need out of the house and they need something fun to do. And, you know, we thought, well, let's give them a real fun thing, bring them together, and just enjoy the full Nevada experience and see our town, you know, hopefully a few places that people have never been or really didn't know the story behind. So we're excited to do that.
I'm excited to get some fresh air and get Henry's history lessons all at once. That's going to be fun.
Yep. Yeah.
So speaking of that, you mentioned news will be coming out on the Main Street Facebook page. So we'll have somebody pop the Main Street Facebook page link under this video, so you folks can find that easy. Give it a like so they can catch that news. And I know Cubby's has a page. I don't know if about Food at First or Good Samaritan Fund. If they have pages, we'll try to do the same. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Nevada Food at First.
Okay. So we'll try to get that Facebook page linked down there too. So yeah. Well, thank you everyone. It's been enjoyable and hopefully informative for folks to learn about what's going on behind the scenes they might not be seeing. And we'll continue to try to do these at least during this interim time while folks are looking for things to do, and maybe we have a little bit more time to devote to them. So yeah, so maybe what we should do to close out, just to make it fun, is if everyone can go around and talk about something you've been able to do now that you hadn't had time for before. So I think that's been neat just to watch people post some of the things they're actually able to get to and the projects they're able to do. So I can go ahead and start. So I've had several things, which is interesting too, because I feel like I have more to do in some ways, but because it's here and I can do it, a lot of it from my basement on Zoom, and I'm traveling less, I'm finding more time in my day too. So that's been a little bit refreshing. But one of the things I've done was just things like replacing ceiling fans, and my wife is like, that's something you never would have found time to do before. So anybody else have some things that they're doing with their time?
I'm going to be in a real office sometime soon so that I don't have to use the end of my kitchen table because somebody else needs the other end of the kitchen table to teach.
We remodeled a bathroom. Well, mostly my husband, but I was there for moral support.
Yeah, that was my wife was there for moral support, basically laughing at me as I dropped screws on my forehead and things like that, trying to get the fan put together.
He does the work, I'll do the tidying.
I've had more time to catch up with people, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, that's I think hopefully a good thing that'll stay. I think people have been more intentional about connecting with people. And I was the one that I was notorious for not liking video, and here I am every Saturday doing video streaming for thousands of people to watch. But yeah, my sister FaceTime called the other day. She's like, wait, you actually answered? You've never answered my FaceTime before. And I was like, I know, I'm trying to get over not liking FaceTime. So and that's one thing I think people will appreciate more of that personal connection, and hopefully we can all use this to reset ourselves a little bit coming out of it. I know for me, I think I'll prioritize a little bit better and maybe protect my time a little bit better once it gets going. And now that my wife probably will hear me say that, she'll remind me of it later. So
I guess I've been working on, I'm a tinkerer, and, whether that be cars, tractors, or woodwork, but I've been working on doing a little more woodwork and with just hand tools, not power tools. Kind of unplugging, I guess, a little bit in how, tech savvy we've had to become in the last few weeks. It's nice just to kind of go back to something that doesn't have a power cord, but
yeah.
just enjoying that and attempting to learn how to use all those hand tools.
And now that we're getting in a pattern with this, we do have one that we're planning for next weekend already. So we're thinking a little bit more ahead. I think I emailed these folks on Monday, so that was probably more of a heads up than we started working on some of the previous weeks. But Councilman Spence and I both have an interest in presidential history, and the Hoover Presidential Foundation was supposed to have come present in Nevada this Monday on the 20th at the Senior Center, talking about what the foundation does and Hoover being an Iowan and what that means going forward and stuff. So we have the Hoover Presidential Foundation will be joining Luke and myself next Saturday, and we'll be talking a little bit about that. So if you have any interest in that, you can watch for that. And then the one after that will be more of the traditional group of councilmen talking about city business on this regular second Saturday that we normally would do. And then we'll keep finding topics and go from here and see if there continues to be interest. I'm sure we'll continue to do virtual coffees, even if we resume to normal and can start meeting at Farm Grounds in person again. But yeah, with that, thanks again for your time. Thanks for watching, and enjoy your weekend, everyone.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.